Hey there, clan, and welcome to the Warriors non-gaming geeky zone. In this installment, we're going to be talking about comic book movies, and I have a comic book expert with me today. I have the one only, Mr. N7stryder, you've seen from Game Experience. N7, introduce yourself to the people who don't know you.
Well, I'm N7stryder and I review comics on the YouTubes.
Yeah, your
And
review's
that's
coming.
it. I'm far from an expert though.
You're more of an expert than me. So yeah, we're basically going to be talking about the movies, comic book movies from Paramount, Fox, Marvel, DC, and of course any other ones we can think about. We'll also talk a lot about the TV series and what we like, what we don't like, and what we'd like to see for the future. And yeah, so advanced warning, we will ramble and probably go ape shit about halfway through this. So yeah, sorry.
Expect strong language.
Yes, viewer discretion is advised. Strong language is a possibility. So I think we'll have to start with we'll start with the two ones that aren't the comic book created ones. We'll start with DC. We'll start with X-Men and Spider-Man, and of course Fantastic Four, who are owned by Paramount and Fox, I believe. As is, we're still a bit unsure of that, and probably should have googled that, but I'm lazy, so don't care. So N7, since you're here, which one do you want to talk about first? X-Men, Fantastic Four, or Spider-Man?
Let's start up with Spider-Man because I've got something that I don't think you'll have heard of yet, and it's probably going to infuriate you a little bit. Which
Probably.
Spider-Man movie do you think could come next? Like, would Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 3, or maybe Secret Six? Is it Sinister Six? It's
It's
Sinister Six.
Sinister Six.
So which one comes next, do you think? Or is there a third possibility?
By your tone, I'm going to say there's a third. I'm not a big fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but the way they were teasing it, I'd expect a Secret Six. Sorry, Sinister Six. The way they were teasing it, that's what I'd expect. Something tells me that's not what we're getting.
You'd expect that, wouldn't you? They've been teasing, even in the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
closing cinematics, they teased some of the characters who would be
Mm-hmm.
appearing in Sinister Six, like
Yeah.
Mysterio, Craven, others. But the movie this is highly rumored. This has come from a site that is very reputable, and they're generally on the money. But
Yeah.
this is highly rumored, and it's not exactly confirmed yet. But instead of anything, that would make sense, we're gonna get Venom versus Carnage next. They've not even established the alien symbiote. And the fact that Carnage comes from Venom. Venom creates Carnage. So they've not established any of this yet, but we're going with a Venom versus Carnage movie. From those 90s comic books, the
Yeah.
dark age of comics, the terrible ones.
Yeah. And also the
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man, and also the Spider-Man animated series from the '90s, which was okay. Okay, firstly,
It was good. I like that one.
it was alright. It is my personal favourite Spectacular Spider-Man. That series is fantastic, which did
I
Venom.
haven't watched that one myself.
Highly
I,
recommend it.
I, I was fond of. I think it was the 80s one actually that I really enjoyed,
Can't remember what.
along with the X-Men one, the
Yeah,
comic.
the
I love
80s
those.
and 90s. But Spectacular Spider-Man is probably the best Spider-Man TV series ever.
I'll
Um,
have to pick it up then.
it got cancelled after 2 seasons.
I'll still pick it up.
um,
There's there's one thing though. The Venom versus Carnage movie.
yeah,
I can tell you the entire plot right now. Would you like to hear it?
go away.
Would you? It's not going to be the entire thing, but I can tell you how Venom is going to be created. Venom is going to be created from the spider web, the genetically engineered spiders that we saw in Amazing Spider-Man 1, into a suit, a military suit, because Oscorp, they're evil.
Yes,
And this suit is going to gain, um,
sentience.
yes, it's going to gain sentience. It's going to be too dangerous to handle, and this is going to be operated by, what was the name of the guy? The first Venom.
Eddie Brock.
Was it Eddie Brock?
Eddie
It's
Brock.
probably Eddie Brock then. I was thinking of the other one, Flash Thompson,
No,
because
it's Eddie Brock.
military career
Yeah,
and also he was an astronaut. So maybe, who knows who's going to be Venom, but I'm thinking more than likely it's probably going to be Eddie Brock. So during the test of this suit where it's gaining sentience, a part of it is going to break off mysteriously. So they're going to take the suit away from him, saying it's too dangerous, it's gained sentience, can't use it. Carnage is going to get on to Cletus Cassidy, the serial killer, and then Carnage is going to be unleashed upon New York. And then it'll be, well, to fight a monster, we need a monster. And they put Eddie back into the Venom suit and send him on out there to fight Carnage. That's the plot, ladies and gentlemen. I figured it out. I was just like, if this is the thing, here's the plot.
Oh, you went muted there. Your mic just went just quieter and quieter and quieter and
Did it?
quieter. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Bram,
But yeah, I kind of figured the plot out. It was just like, because Oscorp creates all the monsters.
Yeah, they're evil. They're evil. They're basically the modern day Dr. Frankenstein. Yeah.
I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 1 was kind of cool because it reflected the times we live in.
Yeah.
You know, we had the whole financial crisis when it was at its peak. Oscorp was a big, conglomerate, big company, and we're supposed to hate them, and that's fair enough. But when Amazing Spider-Man 2 rolls around, we're not as interested in that anymore. But unfortunately, they've stuck to this, and they have to stick to this now because this is established cinematic universe. They can't go changing things.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans are okay. The first one's still good. They haven't aged too well.
Do you know why people don't like those ones? I figured it out after rewatching them. Not Spider-Man 3, but 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
They're too comic-y. If you watch it again, some of the panels, like the way things are framed, they're shot, the things you're seeing, they're very comic book, and I think maybe that's what your average cinema goer isn't enjoying about it. Is they're too comic book. Like the scene from was it Spider-Man 2 where the woman runs at the camera going and it's like cheesiest things. It was then when it hit me. I was watching Spider-Man 2 again. I was just like, this is very comic book.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. That's the Sam Raimi ones are very comic booky, which I liked. And the reason I'm not a big fan of the Amazing Spider-Man ones is because they're too serious. Like they try and go. I hate to say it out loud, but it's Nolan's fault because of the Dark Knight series.
The thing is with Nolan's movies, it fit Batman. His enemies are very grounded in reality, and it works.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't work for everyone else.
It doesn't work for everyone else. Spider-Man needs to be big, bright, and colourful.
Yeah.
Nolanizing it isn't going to work for Spider-Man.
It doesn't work, and it never will work. And that's my main problem that I've got with. I won't mention the DC one right now, but we'll get to that. But that's my main problem with the Amazing Spider-Man is that they're too serious. They haven't embraced the comic book vibe that Spider-Man needs, which is my main problem with them. Don't get me wrong, I actually like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think he does a good job.
I don't think he's a good Spider-Man. I think he's a great Peter Parker, but he's not a good Spider-Man. Whereas the reverse is different with Tobey Maguire. He's a terrible Peter Parker, but he's a good Spider-Man.
Yeah,
they just can't seem to get the casting right.
It's the same problem with Batman. No actor has ever done Batman perfectly beyond Kevin Conroy because they're playing Batman, Bruce Wayne, and the fake Bruce Wayne instead of just one character.
I think Keaton has possibly been the closest. He was a great Bruce Wayne, and he was a good Batman. I think out of all the live actions, I think Keaton's probably been the best.
Well, we'll find it with Ben Affleck. We'll get to that in a minute.
I do like who was the latest guy? Not Affleck. Christian Bale. I'm like you. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
I think he was a good Bruce Wayne. He had that swagger to him, that charm.
Yeah.
And he was good as Bruce Wayne, but his Batman with the gravelly voice, it was something different.
Yeah, the gravelly voice ruined
As much as I'd enjoyed those movies, apart from the third one.
Yes.
But as much as I enjoyed them, there was always it's always where is he? It's like I cannot read a Batman comic now, and if Batman says where is he or where are they, I read it in that voice in my head.
That's a problem.
And I can't stop doing it.
Yeah, we need to get a new Batman in there, but we'll get to Batman eventually. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, that's my main problem with the Spider-Man is they're too serious. I will give them balls. Spoiler alert, by the way. We are going to spoil everything in this.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about movies that have already been released.
Spoiler alert, I did like the fact that they killed Gwen Stacy off.
I like that they killed her off. It's faithful to the comics. The way it was handled was wrong.
Yeah, done it a little bit weird.
I don't care who comes at me from
Yeah.
across the internet. The way it was handled was wrong.
I-
It didn't it didn't have the impact it did in the comics. The reason with when you read it in the comics, the death of Gwen Stacy is Spider-Man still believes she's alive up until the last minute, the very last minute, and he kills her. Spider-Man kills her. He stops her with the web, but the force of her falling snaps her neck.
yeah.
And it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, and it's brutal. Whereas the movie, you kind of think she hits her head on the floor, so he's not to blame.
I think the way they
I watched that scene a couple of times. I'm like,
yeah.
and I was like, did she hit her head, or was it the force of the fall? They said afterwards it was the force of the fall and her being suddenly stopped that broke her neck. They said afterwards, but you can't say afterwards. If you've got a film on a screen, it should be visible.
Yeah, this is the way I saw it when she fell. Is when the web hit her. I think even if she hadn't hit the ground, I think she still would have died because of the amount of force that she was going with. The web would have stopped her, and if it didn't break her neck, it would have like snapped her spine or something because of the way she went. So I think even if
still props for them for doing it.
I give them props for doing it, and as is the way she hit. I think she was I think it was a combination of the fact that if she'd hit the ground, she was dead. If she was caught by the web, she was dead. There was no way out of it. I think unless there was a bouncy castle at the bottom of the place that suddenly appeared. Like the comic book Spider-Man just goes, Spidey bouncy castle.
You could make anything from the webs back in the day.
Yeah,
that's that.
Well, maybe one day they'll bring it back, but I gotta give them balls for doing that because that's one thing that's always happened with any comic book, especially the ones that are on DC or Marvel, is that they don't kill off the good guys or the love interests, but they'll kill off the villains like a wet sack potatoes. So.
It sucks for the actress who played Mary Jane though in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Because they cut all her scenes out.
I had no idea she was. I had no idea she was actually.
No, they cast someone. She's a good actress. I can't remember her name, but she's a good actress. I thought, oh well, that's an interesting choice for Mary Jane.
Yeah.
But they kind of, when it came to the cutting room, they thought, you know what? If we introduce Mary Jane, it's gonna kind of spoil things for the audience watching it because they'll predict that Gwen Stacy's gonna die.
Yeah, that's
by us introducing Mary Jane. So I kind of, it sucks for the actress that we don't get to see her in it, but it does make sense for the cuttings.
They'll probably be on the DVD, and I'm sure they are because I haven't bought the DVD yet because I don't want to. But yeah, I see why they cut out Mary Jane. I get why they did that, but as it is, I give them balls for that. But as it is, I still want Spider-Man to go back to Marvel because, no offense to Sony, all they treat Spider-Man as is a cash cow right now. That's all they do. Is.
Plus, Spider-Man in Justice League, Spider-Man in Avengers. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we need to see that, but
I wouldn't even mind if it was Andrew Garfield, because, as I say, he's not always the best Spider-Man for me. He does sometimes get it right, but sometimes he gets it wrong.
Yeah.
I'd be up for that.
And
Spider-Man, the Avengers, fuck yeah.
In the current cinematic universe, to write Spider-Man in, they don't even need to do a reboot. They just need to say, oh, they were experimenting with spiders and something went wrong.
Yeah, just have him fucking show up.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you need to do. Most people know that Spider-Man, is a part of Marvel. It's just like he can turn up, no problems. Just like, sorry, I'm late. What do you need me to do? Just like
I imagine Robert Downey Jr. just looks at him and goes, "Okay, let me say, you've missed an invasion in New York. By the way, where the fuck were you doing that?" And of course, we'll talk about the other Marvel stuff when we get to that. But
just what we need, a guy who turns up in his pajamas.
Yeah. Well, I still love that little deleted scene from X-Men where Hugh Jackman runs in the Spider-Man costume. I love that scene.
I haven't seen that scene.
Yeah, basically they're filming the scene where they're in the Statue of Liberty and they're running in towards the camera. I think it's Hugh Jackman, I could be wrong, but basically Hugh Jackman runs in the Spider-Man costume and goes, "Wait, oh shit, wrong movie, sorry," and just backs up.
You gotta love Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I love the fact that he just embraces the comic booky of it. And well, since we're talking about Hugh Jackman, let's move on to X-Men, shall we?
It was a good little transition there. It was almost like we planned it.
Okay, firstly, I guess I'll give my overall thoughts on the overall X-Men films. I've liked the majority of the X-Men films, Except, of course, X-Men Origins, Wolverine, that one can burn in a fire. Even X-Men 3 Last Stand, I liked that film, even though it isn't the best. And of course, my favourite ones now are X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past, because, and I'm going to say this right now, they're comic booky.
Yes.
And
yes, and they're just better.
Yeah, they're just.
I think First Class is still my favourite.
Yeah, I'd have to say that.
And it features mutants that most people don't know.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's good. It's entertaining. I love it.
Yeah, and the casting is also done really well as well. Of course, we've got that guy from Filth, whose name I can't remember, and I think it's Michael Fassbender that plays Magneto.
Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy plays.
McAvoy, yes. I know. I'm sorry.
Professor X.
He's a fellow. I think he's a fellow Scot. Is he? I think. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm horrible. I'm a horrible human being. But I like those two have a great chemistry with each other, which worked really well with the Xavier and Magneto chemistry. Like people literally like brothers who became enemies. I like that. And of course, Hugh Jackman telling him to go fuck off is awesome as hell. I love that scene.
And the scene from First Class with Magneto's origin, him discovering his powers.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that.
I love it.
I like how
it's.
Yeah, they tied it into the first X-Men film where we do see Magneto do the bending of the bars in the first scene, basically, at the Nazi concentration camp. And I like the fact that it was... Is it Sinister? Is the guy? The bad guy's name?
Stryker?
Stryker, yeah, Stryker. Is that not the scientist that gives Wolverine his adamantium skeleton? The guy who has the power to control energy, absorb it, and go like that to a guy and blows the guy's heart out.
I can't remember. I know there's a guy called Mr. Sinister in Marvel Comics.
He's played by Kevin Bacon. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually in the comics. I don't remember his name.
I can't remember the guy's name, but Kevin Bacon had so much fun with that role. I loved it.
Kevin Bacon's enjoyable to watch in everything he does, though, unfortunately. I don't know what it is about that guy. I always enjoy his performance, even in his bad films.
Everyone loves bacon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, now I want some bacon.
In 2 ways or one. But yeah, First Class is probably one of the best. After what happened with the X-Men series, which, don't get me wrong, I liked the other Wolverine film when he's in Japan. I liked it, even though it has problems.
I refuse to watch that movie.
I don't blame you.
for the main reason of I want an X-Men film, not a Wolverine film. I'm as much as I enjoy Hugh Jackman in the role of Wolverine, I want more of the X-Men.
Yeah.
I'm paying for an X-Men film. Can I have X-Men? Multiple.
Yeah,
but they seem to revolve around Wolverine. Days of Future Past. It's not as heavy on the Wolverine, but it's still a Wolverine story, and that really pisses me off.
Yeah,
I want a good X-Men story, and I'm excited for X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah,
I am. Honestly, I am excited for it.
I'll agree with you there. Even though I'll say Days of Future Past, while it did focus on Wolverine a little bit, I still feel it wasn't centric to him. It had a little bit too much, I'll agree there, but just the way they basically just rebooted the X-Men franchise with a movie, without having to just say, oh, it's just rebooted. I love that.
At the end where it had that scene, I was leaning forward in my chair at the time. I was getting ready to go, and it's just when they had that scene, I just reclined back. I was just, oh yeah, it was so good. It was like we're not rebooting anything.
Yeah,
it's just like everything that happened.
Nothing happened.
No, just forget that. Here's all the X-Men. They're all back. It's all the same cast. We got Kelsey Grammer back as Beast. You know, it's just like, enjoy this scene, people.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of people are still a bit miffed to the fact that Mystique, spoiler alert, has Wolverine at the end of the movie. Because, and by the way, I'm going to say this right now, Jennifer Lawrence is Mystique. She does such a great role.
You recast her. Who was it originally? Rebecca Romanos or something?
Something like that.
Or something?
She didn't have that many
Well,
lines.
she has a fantastic body.
Yeah.
I envy the guy who got to put the suit on her and paint her body, but that's a job. Someone gets paid to do that. I'd do
Yeah.
that for free. But yeah, I think Jennifer Lawrence. She wasn't all that good in First Class. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think she was still a little uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but she was a lot better in Days of
Yeah,
Future
Days
Past.
of Future
Oh,
Past is
oh.
where she shined the best, in my opinion. She just brought everything to that role, and that's why I kind of feel X-Men Days of Future Past is more of a Mystique story rather than a Wolverine story. For me personally, anyway. And I do like the fact that she's the one that saves the day, basically. In a way.
She kind of caused all the shit to happen. But
Yeah,
yeah, she did at the end. She
she
kind
fucked
of
up.
saved the day.
She fucked up. It's her fault that the Mystique Sentinels exist in the future. Which, by the way, top-notch job on the design with them. By the way, they look terrifying.
I'm not too keen,
Don't
if
get me
I'm
wrong.
perfectly honest.
Don't get me wrong. I still love the classic Sentinel look. Like I would have liked them to have done that, but I get what they were going for. A very futuristic look to them. I get what they were going with. I still like the
It's
look of them. So
I guess it's because I am more into the comic book side
yeah,
of things. I wanted Sentinels, but I've got to admit the ones we got, even though I'm not as keen, it's like I still like them.
yeah.
I'm not going to just outright say they're
Yeah,
terrible
and I gotta
just
say
because
what
they
I gotta
don't look
say.
like how.
Yeah, sorry, they don't look like that. I gotta say one thing. Was I the only one that was felt really fucking sorry with how all the X-Men died in the future? They died brutally. Oh.
They didn't die well. We didn't spend too much time in the future, and I
Yeah,
thought that was a much more interesting place.
it
If I'm
was
honest,
interesting. I get why they didn't spend too much time in the future because they wanted to concentrate on the younger cast. I get where they were going with that. Of course, I got to compliment the interaction between James Mark McAvoy and Patrick Stewart. That was a fantastic scene. I
that was a
loved that.
great scene.
But holy fucking shit, the people in the future died horribly, and I do mean painfully.
It was a horrible time. You know,
Yeah,
there was the whole mutant registry, and they were in concentration
yeah,
camps,
but
and
I mean,
I
like,
loved the look of the future,
yeah,
and I wanted to spend more time there. It was
yeah,
unfortunate that they had to tell a story, and
yeah,
if they split it into two parts
maybe, but
with some more stuff in the future and
yeah,
more stuff in
I
the
could have.
past, I would have paid to have watched both movies.
Same here.
Honestly, hand on heart, because I would have been excited to see what happens to the future X-Men
Yeah,
and the past X-Men.
yeah.
I would have paid to have watched two movies if
Same,
they'd
yeah. I would have
split
paid.
it
I
up.
would have paid. I would have liked a little bit more in the future, but I get where they were going with because they maybe had a little bit of a budget, and some of those actors are very expensive. Um, but talking about the deaths again is firstly we got to talk about Storm. She barely gets any lines, and then she's like this. I think we got them all, right through the heart, and then ripped off there. And I'm like, some people cheered for that. I bet.
Halle Berry was actually heavily pregnant when she recorded those scenes.
Oh, that explains why.
So yeah, at least from my knowledge, I'm sure someone. I'm sure she was heavily pregnant when she recorded Days of Future Past. So
Well,
you can kind of excuse her for not being in it as much.
yeah,
I'd love to see more of Storm in the movies. And
yeah,
each
same here.
time a new movie comes around, Halle Berry says she wants to be in it more and doing more things.
Yeah.
Um, and she always negotiates that into her contract. Like, I want to do more.
Yeah,
It's
I'll give Halle Berry that. She wants to be in comic book movies. You can tell that she loves them by the looks of it. And even though she's had bad romp with casting in the past, the movie that shall not be mentioned that involves cats.
If there is one film that we should mention that has Halle Berry in it, it's Swordfish. You will thank me. Just go and watch Swordfish.
I don't think I've seen
It's
that
got
film.
John Travolta in and Halle Berry topless. Go watch Swordfish.
Oh, that'll be. There we go. There's
I don't know. I don't know what the plot is. I just know that Halle Berry's topless in that film.
Oh, there you go. That's an endorsement. A couple other deaths I want to mention is Bishops. Holy hell. He literally absorbed energy to the point in which he exploded on a molecular level.
What happened to Blink? I don't remember what
I
happened to
think
Blink.
she blinked into somewhere and the Sentinels predicted where she
Yeah,
was.
he was there ready.
And I was like, ugh, those things are smart. But I think we got to say the person who got it the worst was Colossus.
What happened to Colossus?
He got ripped to pieces.
He was dispatched off within seconds, wasn't he? Really, he was just
Yeah,
he was gone.
Of course, we also got to talk a little about Iceman's death at the start of the film, where he literally just gets melted to death.
Although, you know the guy who plays Colossus?
Yeah.
I love him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'm like you with names. But he voices Colossus in the cartoon.
Nice.
He obviously loves the role, and so I'm not going to diss him at all because he obviously loves the role. He's just like he's a big guy. He voices him in the cartoons.
Yeah.
So it's just like he obviously loves the role. He knows Colossus. You know, so it's just like when they were casting Colossus again, they could have gone with someone else, but it's like no, we're going for Colossus.
I'll give him that. They did that, but he did get brutally ripped to pieces by the Sentinels, which I'm just like, oh my. Like he's got his arm ripped off, and then he got beaten to death with his own arm.
Oh, that's never good. They went Mortal Kombat on his ass.
Yeah, like while he was in his metal form, as well. Which, ow. But yeah, I just had to comment on those deaths because those were brutal, and you were like, I hope Wolverine succeeds because they're going to die if he doesn't. And I will say this right now. The thing I wasn't too keen on was when the fuck did Kitty Pryde have the power to send people back in time mentally?
Shh! Don't draw attention to it.
Don't get me wrong, I love Ellen Page. I absolutely love the actress, but I'm just like, that's the one thing in my mind that I'm like, when could she do that?
I'm just happy that they altered the timeline.
Yeah,
so we can have all the X-Men back. I'm really happy with that. It's not a reboot; it's an altered timeline.
Yeah, and
I'm getting that out there.
Yeah, it's an alternative timeline, and of course, no more Wolverine claws, sadly, because he didn't get.
Does he or doesn't he have them now?
We didn't
because
see
at the end of the film we saw him being taken. Maybe he was getting the adamantium bomb.
He didn't get taken by Stryker. He got taken by Mystique,
who was pausing as Stryker.
Yes, and Stryker's still alive. So if Stryker took him, he'd get the adamantium skeleton, but Mystique knows nothing of the future. Mystique doesn't know anything of the future, so she doesn't know he's may have an adamantium skeleton. So
he's gonna have
he's gonna have
metal claws. Come on, no one wants the bone claws.
Yeah, sorry Wolverine, nobody likes your bone claws. Everyone likes your metal shink claws, which don't get me wrong, they're awesome.
There's one thing that does worry me about the future of the X-Men films is Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
As much as I love him as Wolverine, I don't think anyone else could possibly play him after he's played Wolverine so many times. Where do we go with Wolverine from here when Hugh Jackman decides to step down? He's said himself that it's getting harder and harder to get that body he needs to play Wolverine.
I think eventually...
much as he loves... He said, I'll keep playing Wolverine as long as they'll have me. So I'm happy with that, but he has said it's harder and harder to get that body.
I can't blame him. It's physically demanding to have that body, and eventually he's going to have to say, I'm going to have to stop. I can't do it anymore, which I'm sure will be a death. It'll be like, because let's face it, that role has basically sustained him for decades.
Well, Wolverine has a son.
Yeah, good point.
Who also regenerates and also has bone claws.
They also have X-23 as well, who's his female clone.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the son is in the 616 universe, but that's comic booky stuff. We won't go into that.
Yeah, we won't go into that because I don't know that.
For the sake of the movies, they can just say Wolverine had a son.
Yeah, which...
He's been around a long time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has more than one son.
He's probably got an army of baby Wolverines out there.
It wouldn't surprise me. Each one having a different power. That'd be hilarious.
Bunch of Wolverine cubs.
That'd be hilarious. Unless you go... I'm not even going to mention Marvel, sorry.
That is one child you would not manage want to bring up. The terrible twos and the terrible threes and terrible fours, fives, and sixes.
And teenagers.
And he regenerates. Oh God, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want a Wolverine as your son.
Imagine a daughter.
And a hairy baby.
Yeah, and also imagine a daughter version of Wolverine.
A daughter with mutton chops as well. Yeah. Glorious mutton chops like Wolverine.
Glorious mutton chop female. That'd be hilarious. No, but yeah, and of course, I think the main thing we can agree on is we want all of this, Spider-Man and Marvel, and X-Men to go back to Marvel. But let's talk a little bit about Fantastic.
We should talk about Apocalypse first.
Yeah, we'll talk
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
We talked about Days of Future Past, but we should, because there was a spoiler scene at the end of the film that I left before I actually saw.
Yeah, I saw it.
With Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen on the horizon back in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
they have said that this is going to be a disaster movie. So they're taking a leaf from Marvel's book. You know how Marvel's
Yeah,
changing things now with Ant-Man's going to be a heist movie, Captain
yeah,
America is a political thriller, Guardians is a space opera.
yeah,
So they're taking a leaf from their book and like, this isn't going to be just a superhero movie. This is going to be a disaster movie with superheroes in it.
yeah.
So it looks like they're going the right direction.
Yeah, I got,
I hate to say it because I want X-Men to go back to Marvel,
yeah.
but they seem to be doing something right for a change.
Yeah, I'll give them that. They're doing something right with that. I only know mostly from the X-Men series in the 80s and 90s about Apocalypse, which, and also partly X-Men Evolution's Apocalypse, which I don't think a lot of people like.
Well, he's the first mutant.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
I honestly expected them in this cinematic
Yeah,
universe to say, well, actually, Wolverine is the first mutant.
yeah.
It's just like, no,
Wolverine's older than he looks. I think he was only born in the 1800s. I don't think he's like 10,000 years old, which would be hilarious.
like Apocalypse, he's huge. He's like a giant. He was worshipped as a god. He has multiple powers. He's got the four horsemen with him. This is going to be one hell of a movie. I really do hope they go all out.
Yeah.
If this is a disaster movie, I want to see a city being ripped apart.
Yeah, same. I want
to see the X-Men struggle to stop him.
Yeah, they will stop him eventually. I don't know. I don't want to say too much on it. I always like to just wait and see what happens. But
yeah, we don't really know much about this movie besides from it's going to be a disaster movie, and that's pretty much all we know.
Yeah, as long as it's entertaining, I'm okay with that, and as long as they do it justice. Now we'll move on to Fantastic Four, and then we're going to take a little break because I need to go and wake someone up. But we'll go with Fantastic Four. Firstly, I'm going to be honest. I like the first Fantastic Four film. Don't like the second one.
No. Take it back. Take it back right now.
It's just a personal preference. Don't get me wrong. I like some aspects of the second one, but as soon as the Cloud Galactus came in, I was like, I'm done.
If there's one thing that those two movies do very right is Jessica Alba. I'm all for movies with Jessica Alba in them. In fact, I'm up for Jessica Alba in anything. Jessica Alba in a skin-tight suit, like in the Fantastic Four, I'm happy for that. But it won't get me to go see the film in the cinema.
Yeah,
they're rebooting the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
and I think they're going. It might be Ultimate Fantastic Four.
They're going with
for this new movie, where it's they're in high school.
Yeah,
I think it's Ultimate. No, it's not Ultimates. One of the universes, they were still in school, and I think they got their powers through a lab accident instead of cosmic rays or something.
I know that a lot of people are pissed off with the one aspect of it, which is the talk of the town, and that is that Johnny Storm is being played by a African American. Here's the thing. What's the problem?
That actor is fantastic.
Yeah.
Why are you complaining? I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic.
I know
he's awesome. Yeah, the stuff I've seen him in, I think he's been in more TV series than he has been in films. Michael, oh no, the name's gone.
Yeah, same here.
But he's fantastic. He is awesome. We should be happy that Johnny Storm is black. In fact, his colour shouldn't even come into it.
Yeah,
it's just he is a hero.
Yeah, it's the thing. A lot of people have complained about it, and I'm just like, it's the Marvels. It's a movie. They're going to take liberties, and they can still be brother and sister. They can be adopted brother and sister. But what's the difference?
Yeah, that's what I see. I do hope this movie's going to be good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want Fantastic Four to go back to Marvel.
Same here. I'm hoping.
We're conflicted.
Yeah.
If you go and see this movie, you're essentially saying I'm okay with either Fox or Universal, whoever owns the Fantastic Four franchise, Paramount, whoever. You're essentially saying I'm okay with it.
Well, they
want to see more, but you're also saying I'm okay with it not going back to Marvel.
Yeah, they gave up.
Marvel are doing the right thing though with the comics. They're essentially just showing them the big middle finger and just like, we're not making Fantastic Four comics to advertise your film. They're doing the same with the Spider-Man ones and the X-Men ones. In fact, they're getting rid of the X-Men from the comics, from what I understand.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and I gotta say that's a good move by Marvel, because they're like, we want our fucking licenses back, so yeah, fuck you.
They sold these licenses off in a time where Marvel was struggling for money. As hard as that may be to believe now,
Yeah.
they were struggling for money. They were desperate. I believe this was mid to late 90s.
Especially
And
with, of course,
they were struggling. They were close to bankruptcy and debt.
Yeah.
You know, so they had to sell some of the license stuff. But now they want them back, and
Yeah.
they're willing to pay for them.
Yeah.
But the studios are like, no, because we know how we make the money.
Yeah.
It's not just from bums being in cinema seats. That's that's where you start making your money.
Yeah.
You've got the toy line as well.
And
You make tons of money.
Make a lot.
You know, you get your advertising, your sponsorship, all that stuff, like the terrible burger ad for Days of Future Past, and I still don't like Quicksilver from that. But that's another thing we should talk about.
We steer clear of Quicksilver because we know there's mixed opinions on him. I like him, but I know a lot of people don't like him.
Right. He's called Quicksilver. Let's spray paint his hair silver and put him in silver. Wait until you see Age of Ultron, my friend. That is where Aaron Johnson.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I will, as is. I know a lot of these companies gave up the other licenses they had, like Blade and trying to remember the others.
They're bringing Blade back.
I know, and I'm very
They're
happy
doing
with that.
another Blade movie.
Yeah, and apparently
I liked all the Blade movies, even the third one.
The third one is the worst, but even then,
it's the worst one. Yes, but
it's not
Ryan Reynolds, I thought he was good in it.
Yeah, I like.
He was enjoyable.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, like, what were they called, the Night Stalkers?
Yeah,
it meant to be like a spin-off Night Stalkers movie that we never got. I actually enjoyed the Night Stalkers. I had no problem with them.
Yeah, I like them.
Abigail Whistler as well. I thought she was fun. I don't remember the actress's name, but
yeah.
I thought they were a fun group. They were like the Buffy gang.
Yeah.
You know, the Scooby gang. I was kind of like,
and you know how much I love Buffy.
You know, it was kind of like an 18-rated Buffy that they were going on with there. I was like, I can get behind this, but we never got it. I think that's a shame because there was potential there. But we're getting another Blade movie, so.
Yeah, I know there's rumours that Wesley Snipes is going to be reprising the role, and I'm going to be honest, Wesley Snipes, without Wesley Snipes as Blade, it's not done right, because I have seen the Blade TV series.
Have you seen how Wesley Snipes looks now?
He doesn't look too good. I know that much.
He's still in good form.
Is he?
I think he physically, I think he can, like, he may be a bit bigger around the edges, maybe, but he can easily pick that.
I know a lot of people
pick her up again.
I know a lot of people don't want him back because of what happened in Trinity, of course, because apparently he was really difficult to work with in that film. Like, apparently he was extremely difficult to the point where he didn't show up for shoots. So, but then again, he went to prison, of course, and maybe he's reflected on his decisions that he's made, and apparently he has very sorry about all that. So, I'm going to be honest.
Prison changes a man. I think it probably did him some time to get him away from the Hollywood trappings, you know, and give him some real time to think. I'd be happy if Wesley Snipes came back as Blade.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to take a wee quick break right now, so we'll see you in part 2. Okay? 3, 2, 1.